Hi, this is Karl. Welcome to another Relax, Focus, Succeed video. Happy New Year! And because it's New Year's, I want to talk about having resolutions that you could actually follow. Now, there's good news and there's bad news. The good news is you can hack your brain to virtually guarantee that you can meet your resolutions. The bad news is this is not easy. This is not simple. If your resolution is to lose 50 pounds or your resolution is to turn around your mental thinking so that you don't have such a negative attitude about yourself or whatever, you have to work at that. It will not happen by itself because nothing happens by itself. There you go. So luckily, there's also good news and bad news. The good news is it's a really simple process. The bad news is you still have to work at it. So even though I'm going to give you a bit of background and give you a 3-step process, you have to do the actual work. So kind of good news, bad news. All right, let me start with the background. What are we talking about? Hacking your brain. So you've all seen the brain. This is not an actual picture of a brain, but it doesn't really matter because unless you're a neuroscientist, you don't care what I put up here. It's certainly an image you recognize as a brain. All right, so there we go. So your brain is a mechanical, electromechanical, biological device. There's a certain way that it works. And you all know all the great information about neurons firing and building neural pathways, right? So we've all seen all of that. Now, I also want you to focus on something that most of you accept to be true, but not everybody accepts to be true. I want to talk about manifesting a new reality. If you haven't heard of Napoleon Hill and the book Think and Grow Rich, today is a great day to go buy that book. It's not very long, it's not very complicated, and he talks about a concept that is very straightforward and I think a lot of people get today, which is manifesting. And that's not really a term he uses a lot, but it's the reality of what he's talking about. You can think about something and make it happen. And this is also a lot of the philosophy behind Relax, Focus, Succeed. I believe fundamentally that you can change your own reality, but it starts inside your brain. It starts with you changing you, and then reality is going to help you out. The beautiful thing about the concept of manifesting is that the more science we have, the more it turns out to be actually very scientifically based. And it's all dependent upon something called the RAS, or the Reticular Activating System. The RAS does a lot of really cool, complicated stuff in your body, and I'll put a link down below and you can go do some more research. It's super, super cool. I wrote a 3-part blog series about the RAS, and so I just want to give you a tiny bit of background. The Reticular Activating System does 2 important things that we're going to talk about today. It filters in and it filters out. So it filters out almost everything. So when you look around your room, you start at the upper left-hand corner and you go to the right side corner and there's a poster and there's a clock and there's a light and there's another poster and there's a window and down there's a shelf and there's a bunch of stuff on the shelf. Your brain can't handle every single thing that it sees. And so 99.99% of the time, it filters out everything. It filters out everything that you don't need to pay attention to right now. My favorite example is always watching television. Really little kids, if you're watching television and a commercial comes on, they'll tune into the commercial and the adults will tune out. right? So the kids see the commercial might have different music. It's a little more interesting. It's a different something that's going on. People sound really excited. The adults just know, oh yeah, that's a commercial. I'm not looking to buy a car today, so I'm not going to pay any attention. Right? And sometimes you'll ask people, did you see this ad? Whether it's a print ad or something on the web or a TV streaming or whatever. And they'll say, no, I haven't seen that ad, or I haven't paid any attention to it. They might have seen it 100 times, but your reticular activating system has filtered on your behalf. Even the fact that you're looking at this video, you filtered out a whole lot of other videos and, for whatever reason, filtered in this video. Thank you, I appreciate that. The other thing, oddly enough, is that your RAS filters in things that are important to you. Again, with the kid, if you've had kids, I remember when my daughter was super little, there'd be, 30 kids out playing or practicing soccer. But when one voice said, Daddy, I picked it up. They're all saying Daddy. They're all saying Mommy. They're all yelling and screaming and whatever. They're doing whatever kids do. But you know your kid's voice. You know your name. You can pick your own name out of a crowd, right? And the consummate example everybody uses, you get a new car, right? Oh, I got me a brand new Honda Civic. And now every time you see a Honda Civic, it stands out. There are no more Honda Civics on the road today than there were yesterday. But now your brain has said, oh, that is important to you, and it filters it in. So your reticular activating system will filter in things that are important to you. Another truly great example, and I hope you've had this experience. I've had it many times. I hope you've had the experience that you decide to do something. You're going to start a new program, or you're going to change something that you do in your life or in your business, and you go, oh, this is a really great idea. And you tell a few people about it, and you're writing notes and you're thinking about it. And now all of a sudden, there's a conversation at a barbecue. And people are talking about something. You say, oh man, that will help me with my new great idea. And then you're reading an article, and suddenly there's a whole paragraph that's all about your new idea. And then you're talking to some friends, and they talk about something, and you say, wow, that's really good for my new idea. And it seems like the universe is conspiring to help you drive whatever your new program is, whatever your new idea is. Again, could be personal, could be professional. That doesn't just seem like it's happening. Your brain has gone to work on your behalf to filter in things that it can use to build the puzzle that is your new idea. And your brain does millions of things you are completely unaware of because you cannot pay attention to everything. It is your reticular activating system that filters out the stuff you don't need and filters in the stuff you do need. Okay, that's good news. Now let's talk a little bit, just for a minute, about some of the bad news when it comes to the brain and the neurons. Remember the neurons? Neurons fire, they create pathways. The period in your life where the neurons are fired more than any other time in your life is when you were a teenager and the hormones are flooding through your brain, building new pathways. And for many people, the period of your youth between, let's say, 12 and 20 is a period where you're building so many new pathways and having so many new experiences and so much joy and so much hormonal activity going on. Whether you direct it one direction or direct it another direction, doesn't matter. Your brain is filled with it, and it's got all this activity going on, and it's growing, and all this stuff's going on. You're building pathways that can never be overwritten. This is why, fundamentally, the music that you listen to in junior high and high school is the greatest music there has ever been in the history of the world. And it doesn't matter whether that was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 40 years ago, for you, that is the greatest music ever because it happened during this period. Okay? This is also the period where many people begin to burn in for life their self-image of themselves as being less than perfect, less than good, less than great, less than amazing. And so a lot of your negative stuff that you carry around with you your entire life is because you've got these neural pathways that have been burned in at a certain age. And every year since then, every time you think about some negative thing, you reinforce that pathway. It's a lot like a wagon wheel going through the rocks, going through the mountains, and it digs a little indentation that becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's just right fit for that wagon. And so you get stuck in a rut, and it's hard to drive that wagon anywhere except in those ruts along the rocks. Takes a lot of effort to lift the wagon, fully loaded, move it to the side, and go somewhere else. And that's what your brain needs to do if you want to overcome this lifelong programming that every time you think of it, you reinforce that path. And that's the key to the 3 steps you need to changing your life and fulfilling your New Year's resolution in 3 steps. So the first step is you have to acknowledge the existing pathways. Okay, step 1, you need to be hyper aware that, let's say that your problem is, like for me, I fundamentally believe, because every woman in my life has told me this, that I'm unattractive. Okay, great. So women don't find me attractive. I get that. I buy into that. Now, I need to tune into that and say, okay, every time that thought comes into my head, I need to be aware of it. So that's step 1. I need to flag it. And here's the problem. If I go through the worn out path, the rut that has been built for 50 years, well, I'm going to reinforce that pathway. I don't have any choice. That's what the brain does. And my reticular activating system says, oh, we're going to think about this now. It's going to start look for reinforcements of that. That's the key to success. You have to flag the behavior, whether it is eating one more donut, right? Deciding to walk or run today, or not walk or not run. Are we going to exercise or are we going to eat, right? Those are all choices you get to make every single day. You need to flag the behavior that you want to change. And then there's the good news. You get to choose the new behavior. You get to say, well, this is going to be the year where I do walk, I do exercise, I do change my mental thought process around this. I do say, hey, no, I reject that. I am worthy. And so the trigger becomes actually something that you flip around and say, my new message is, I am worthy. I'm not going down the road of eating too much, walking too little, right? Not exercising, having negative thought. I'm not going down the negative road. I'm flipping it around, and my new behavior is this. And you need to write it down. Imagine the power of you writing something down, forcing your brain to turn a concept into a physical activity that you can now visually see. You can put it in front of you. You've got your new message. I am a worthy human being, and somebody is going to find me attractive. I'm just waiting. I'm just saying. But that's a perfect example. I want to make a joke out of it, but the reality is that's the way my brain works. And I need to flip it around and say, no, I am actually worthy and somebody will find me attractive, right? I have to work on that. And so that's the message I'm going to flip. And I cannot let my reticular activating system be in charge of deciding that the negativity is the way we're going to go. I'm going to decide, no, I need you to focus on the positive. I want you to tune in to every single time somebody says something positive. So that's step number 3. 1, recognize the negative thought process or the negative activity. 2, Set up and be knowledgeable and aware of the fact that you want to have a new attitude and a new activity. And then 3, tell your reticular activating system what you want to do. Literally give it commands. I will now look for signs that I'm worthwhile, that people find me attractive, that I'm interesting, whatever it is. I will look for opportunities to eat 1 bite less and walk 1 step more. I will set it as my goal to do this thing. And every single time that trigger comes up, it's your job to consciously bring to your mind the path that you want to build and tell your reticular activating system, let's go down that path. So 1, 2, 3. I know it sounds a little complicated, but it really is super, super simple. Be aware of the negativity. Have a written goal for the positivity that you want to create, whether it's physical, emotional, whatever, financial, doesn't matter. Whatever you want to change, you need to be aware of it. Then you need to find out what your new path is, define that, write it down, and then tell your reticular activating system, here are your marching orders for today, right? We're going to look for things that help me reinforce this. Your brain really will go to work on your behalf. You just have to give it the instructions that it needs. Some people think this is all BS. I totally get that, but I'm just telling you, I've been practicing this for a long, long time, and at least for me, it works. And I will tell you, daily meditation helps for a very, very important reason. When you sit in a chair or a hot tub and do absolutely nothing and just think and think and think, you clear your mind, and now you have a conscious awareness. When those negative thoughts bubble to the top, you can point to them and name them and say, nope, not doing that today. I'm going to replace it with something else. That becomes a lot easier every single time you spend more quiet time thinking about yourself, your life, your past, your present, and your future. I hope you have an amazing new year, and I hope that you manifest a super cool future for yourself and start hacking your brain today, because you can do anything you want in the new year. For Relax, Focus, Succeed, this is Karl Palachuk, wishing you the best of luck in everything you do.